Now, good morning, everyone. I do hope and pray that you are fine wherever you are. It is a very good Sunday morning. It is around 11 a.m. in Kenya, where I am. And I want to welcome everybody to this platform. And I want to thank my viewers for always coming back and watching our videos. I kindly request that you watch these videos, share, comment, and subscribe to this platform. That aside, I want us to agree that there are some issues that we will not see CNN report. There are some issues that you will not see BBC report. And there are some issues that you will not see other Western media report. Among these issues was one of the confronting statements by the Colombian president, Gustavo Petro, if I don't miss the name, Gustavo Petro. Gustavo Petro confronted the United States and NATO members currently supporting Ukraine in its war with Russia. You will never see these issues being reported in CNN, and you'll never see them being reported by the BBC. And if you don't see them there, please come to this platform and find them. Now, the Colombian president delivered a statement for about 25 minutes. And when you go to the website of the United Nations, you will only find the speech there. When you go to BBC, you will not find the confronting statements by the Colombian president to the United States and NATO. And when you go to CNN, you will never find such statements. The same you will not find on Al Jazeera. Now, in the Colombian president's speech, I identified a very confronting statement that was directed to the United States and NATO. Now, in his speech, the Colombian president said, and I quote, "We have devoted ourselves to war. We have been called to war. Latin America has been called upon to produce war machines, men to go to the killing fields. They are forgetting that our countries have been invaded several times by the very same people who are now talking about combating invasions. They are forgetting that for oil, Iraq was invaded, Syria and Libya." Now, just to stop there, the Colombian president seems to have some very critical evidence that we might not have. Evidence that we might consider as rumors among us, the lay people. But this is a leader, a president, talking to other presidents in a global forum. He is saying that for oil, Syria was invaded, and for oil, Libya was invaded, and for oil, Iraq was invaded. The United States invaded Iraq, the United States invaded Libya, and the United States, I want to say, invaded Syria. The Colombian president is telling us that the main motive, the primary motive of the US invading Iraq, Syria, and Libya was because of oil. Now, he is not an ordinary person. He is a president. And when he is talking about such statements, he seems to have facts. And we want to say that these are facts because they come from a global ranking leader. Gustavo is telling us that the United States invaded Syria, Libya, and Iraq mainly for oil. Saddam Hussein was killed in Iraq, and Muammar Gaddafi was killed in Libya simply because of oil. Now, using these statements, we can categorically say that Muammar Gaddafi was not harboring weapons of mass destruction, and Saddam Hussein was not harboring weapons of mass destruction. They were killed simply because they never wanted to cooperate with the United States in allowing the extraction of their oil. Now, going ahead with the speech, the Colombian president proceeded and said, and I quote, "They are forgetting They are forgetting that the same reasons they used to defend Zelensky are those very reasons which should be deployed to defend Palestine. They forget that to meet the sustainable development goals, all wars must be brought to an end. But they are helping to wage one war in particular because world powers see this suiting themselves in their gamemanship, in their games of anger, and they are forgetting to bring an end to the other war because for these powers, this did not suit them. What is the difference between Ukraine and Palestine, I ask? Is it not time to bring an end to both wars and other wars too, and make the most of the short time we have to build paths to save life on the planet? The Colombian president, I want to say, is very wise and very critical of the ongoing military support to Ukraine. He seems to be divided, to holding a divided view of the Russia-Ukraine war. The Colombian president, Gustavo, seems to seek peace and not war in the Ukraine situation, and is simply telling the United States and other NATO members not to focus on providing military weapons and supporting Ukraine in its war against Russia. Alternatively, the Colombian president is simply telling the United States and NATO members to seek peace, to seek dialogue between Russia and Ukraine, and is also advising these NATO members to simply try and end other wars like the war ongoing in Syria and Palestine. I want to say that there are some issues that you will never see CNN report. There are some very important issues that you will not see BBC report. And there are some very, very important critical issues that will not see the likes of Al Jazeera report. Why? Because they are trying to protect the image of the United States and NATO members, including the United Kingdom. I am not saying that people from these countries are bad, but I just want to say that their governments are making very wrong decisions. They are making decisions that are plunging the world into an endless war. They are making decisions that are leading to the death of innocent civilians in other countries. When you listen to just what the Colombian president said about the case of Libya, Iraq, and Syria, sometimes you might feel very annoyed with the United States. Sometimes you might feel very annoyed with the government of the United States. In fact, the past governments. You will question the decisions that this government makes before invading a country. You will question the motives that the United States government uses to invade a country. If the Colombian president, Gustavo Petro, can tell us that the United States simply invaded Iraq, Syria, and Libya for their oil, but the BBC, CNN will tell you that Libya and Iraq were invaded because their leaders were harboring weapons of mass destruction. Al Jazeera will tell you the same story. NBC News will tell you the same story. ABC News, the same story. But they will never tell you that the United States and the past governments invaded these countries because of their denial to cooperate in the extraction of their natural resources. I think it is time for the likes of the United States to end the war in Ukraine. It is time for the United States and other NATO members to consider a peaceful resolution of this war. Supplying weapons, providing funds to wage war is not the way to go. Peace is the only way to go. The Colombian president is simply saying that meeting the sustainable development goals will only come if there is peace in the world. And I believe that as global citizens, we should consider that as very, very important.